the AHA's PAM, or Program Administration Manual. So we're just going through it step by step. This can be found in the AHA Instructor Network underneath the PAM tab. And we're just covering what truly is the AHA's requirements. There's a lot of people that spread misinformation out there, or they put additional policies on top of the PAM, which is not necessarily a problem, but it's sometimes difficult for people to determine, is this an AHA thing, or is this a PAM specific, or is this a training center specific policy? If it's a training center specific policy, when people find out that it's not an AHA thing, sometimes they're inclined to leave and find another training center. So we're going to go ahead and just talk about these policies here. We're in the section where it's called Following AHA Policies and Procedures, and it talks about what the AHA's or the TC's responsibility is, and it says that they're responsible for making sure that everyone is using the current training materials in their courses and ensuring that course participants have the most current course materials for use. That's going to become especially relevant come February 1st, 2021, when people should be using the new material, but obviously we're probably going to see, at least for the next several months after that, a lot of folks that are not, staying compliant with that and are using old material. We need to support the AHA's ECC mission, and they need to help, training centers need to help instructors find resources for how to get equipment, do marketing, and just general organizational support. So it's kind of interesting because I have interacted many times with the AHA, and I'll say, hey, this company here is not treating their instructors well. They're not being responsive. It can be weeks or months for them to get back to their instructors with answers to questions. And the response I get from the AHA is, well, we can't handle how the AHA runs the business side of things, but here in the PAM, it actually does seem to say that you do need to help them with the business side of things to some extent, obtaining equipment, marketing, and general organizational support. So, if you got a training center that's not being responsive, that is not helping you answer questions that you have, they're not technically in compliance with the AHA, and it could also potentially jeopardize their training center status, at least according to this. Training centers are supposed to conduct instructor essential courses, which those are the courses you're supposed to do prior to becoming an actual instructor, but then ongoing things like the latest information on AHA courses, science guidelines, policies, procedures, the ECC beat, training bulletins, and memos. Those all are things that the training center is responsible for passing along to their instructors. And so we do that by posting it on our instructor portal. So every time an ECC beat or a training bulletin comes out, we just go ahead and post it on our portal so that all of our instructors have access and can see it. Others sometimes will send it out via email to all of their instructors, but some way or another, you're supposed to be receiving that information from your training center. Training center policies and procedures, from a training center's policies and procedures cannot contradict AHA guidelines and policies in the PAM. So, if the AHA says you need to teach 4 classes in a 2-year period of time to be able to renew your instructor certification, a training center can say, well, we're going to make it 10 classes in a 2-year period of time, but they can't make it less than 4 classes. There's not usually a whole lot of that. I don't see a lot of training centers taking away or contradicting the AHA's policies, but it is very, very common for training centers to add their own policies on top. Training centers must prohibit smoking in the classroom and training facilities during all training programs. And I don't know where I've read this, but I can swear that I've read, that they've also said vaping and just tobacco in general. So that could even be dip. I mean, the whole point is they're just trying to support their mission of reducing cardiovascular disease. And so tobacco kind of works against that, especially smoking. But I want to say somewhere I had seen that dip was also kind of on the no-go list. So don't do it. If you see students, you're gonna have to ask them to stop. The AHA is an independent entity from any training center or training site, so you can't represent yourself as an employee, a volunteer, or a representative of the AHA, because you're not. You're basically just almost really just a client of them. They wouldn't even consider you a volunteer or representative. And so training centers are responsible for making sure that their instructors don't misrepresent themselves. For example, in their resume or on their LinkedIn profile or in the in the signature of your emails. You got to be careful about how you represent yourself and not making it look like that you're an employee or that it's a title. The AHA has more helpful information that goes more in depth on the do's and don'ts of using their brand in another separate bulletin that can be found on the AHA Instructor Network. I think it's under additional tools, if I'm not mistaken. Training centers are supposed to have $1 million liability insurance, and it goes on to talk about how you need to name the AHA on that policy. It also talks about self-insurance. Some larger companies may be self-insured, and so if that's the case, they have standards for that. But those are the policies and procedures for training centers, and how it also impacts and applies to individual instructors or training sites. We're going to keep going through doing short little snippets of videos that are going to be highlighting the PAM's policies and procedures. Next up is going to be managing records, so we'll dive into that next week, which I think is going to actually be really eye-opening. This is probably one of the areas that I see the most people have a ton of misinformation about what records you need to keep versus don't need to keep, and what format and so forth. So we'll be getting into that next week. Hope all of you guys have a great weekend, and we will see you again soon. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already to our YouTube channel, so you can keep up to date with what we're doing and find more videos that can help inform you, help you grow your business, and be successful whatever you're doing. Take care.